Magnus, Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. The Sword of Summer. Book 1. Rick Riordan. Chapter 2. The Family Mansion. The Man with the Metal Bra. The family mansion sucked. Oh, sure, you wouldn't think so. You see, the massive six-story brownstone with gargoyles on the corners of the roof, stone glass transom windows, marble front steps, and all the other blah 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 rich people live here details. And you'll wonder why I'm sleeping on the streets. 2 words, Uncle Randolph. It was his house. As the oldest son, he inherited from my grandparents, who died before I was born. I never knew much about the family soap opera, but there was a lot of bad blood between the three kids, Randolph, Frederick, and my mom. After the Great Thanksgiving schism, we never visited the ancestral homestead again. Our apartment was like half a mile away, but Randolph might as well have lived on Mars. My mom only mentioned him if we happened to be driving past a brownstone, that she would point it out the way he might point out a dangerous cliff. See, there it is. Avoid it. After I started living on the streets, I would sometimes walk by at night. I peered in the windows and see glowing display cases of antique swords and axes, creepy helmets with face masks staring at me from the walls, statue silhouette in the upstairs windows like purified ghosts. Several times I considered breaking in to poke around, but I never been tempted to knock on the door. Please, Uncle Randolph, I know you hated my mother and haven't seen me in 10 years. I know you care more about your rusty old collectibles than you do about your family. But may I live here in your fine house and eat your leftover crust of bread? No thanks. I'd rather be on the street eating day old falafel from the food court. Still, I figured it would be simple enough to break in, look around, and see if I could find answers about what was going on. While I was there, maybe I could grab some stuff to eat, to pawn. Sorry if that offends your sense of right and wrong. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. I don't steal from just anybody. I choose obnoxious jerks who have too much already. If you're driving a new BMW and you park it in a handicapped spot without a display place card, then yeah, I got no problem jimmying your window and taking some change from your cup holder. If you're coming out of Barney's with your bag full of silk handkerchiefs, so busy talking on your phone and pushing people out of your way, then you're not paying attention. I am there for you and ready to pickpocket your wallet. If you can afford $5,000 to blow your nose, you can afford to buy me dinner. I am judge, jury, and thief. And as far as obnoxious jerks went, I figured I couldn't do better than Uncle Randolph. The house fronted Commonwealth Avenue. I headed around back to the potential alley, potential name Public Alley 429. Randolph's parking spot was empty. Stairs led down to the basement entrance. If there was a security system, I couldn't spot it. The door was a simple latch lock without even a deadbolt. Come on, Randolph, at least make it a challenge. 2 minutes later, I was inside. In the kitchen, I helped myself to some sliced turkey, crackers, and milk from the canteen. No uh,
What is spell
Fal.
a word, babe?
Falafel.
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 That's a Middle Eastern food.
Damn it. Now I was really in the mood for some, but I found a chocolate bar and stuffed it in my coat pocket for later. Chocolate must be savored, not rushed. Then I headed upstairs into a mausoleum of mahogany furniture, oriental rugs, oil paintings, marble tile floors, and crystal chandeliers. It was just embarrassing. Who lives like this? At age 6, I couldn't appreciate how expensive all this stuff was, but my general impression of the mansion was the same: dark, oppressive, creepy. It was hard to imagine my mom growing up here. It was easy to understand why she became a fan of the general outdoors. Our apartment over the Korean barbecue joint in Alliston had been cozy enough, but Mom never liked being inside. She always said her real home was the Blue Hills. We used to go hiking and camping there in all kinds of weather. Fresh air, no walls or ceilings, no company but the ducks, geese, and squirrels. The brimstone, by comparison, felt like a prison. As I stood alone in the foyer, my skin crawled with invisible beetles. I climbed to the second floor. The library smelled of lemon, polish, and leather, just like I remember. Along one wall was a lit glass case full of random rusty Viking helmets and coronated axe blades. My mom once told me that Randolph taught history at Harvard before some big disgrace got him fired. She wouldn't go into details, but clearly the guy was still an artifact nut. You're, you're smarter than either of your uncles, Magnus. My mom told me, with your grades you could easily get into Harvard. That had been back when she was still alive. I was still in school and might have had a future that extended past finding my next meal. In one corner of Randolph's office sat a big slab of rock like a tombstone. The front chiseled and painted with a uh, bright red swirly designs. In the center was a crude drawing of a snarling beast, maybe a lion or a wolf. I shuddered. That's nothing about wolves. I approached Randolph's desk. I've been hoping for a computer or a notepad with helpful information. Anything to explain why they were looking for me. Instead, some spread across the desk were pieces of parchment as thin and yellow as onion skin. They looked like maps a school kid in medieval times had made for social studies, faint sketches of a coastline, very variously, religiously, points, labels, and the alphabet I didn't know. Sitting on top of them like a paperweight was a leather pouch. My brain, my breath caught. I recognized the pouch. I untied the drawing string and grabbed one of the dominoes, except it wasn't a domino. My 6-year-old self had assumed that it was what Annabeth and I had been playing with. Over the years, the memory had refocused itself, but instead of dots, these stones were painted with red symbols. The one in my hand was shaped like a tree branch or a deformed F. This is what the symbol looks like.
Sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb my stupid phone.
My heart pounded. I wasn't sure why. I wondered if coming here had been such a good idea. The walls felt like they were closing in. On the big rock in the corner, the drawing of the beast seemed to sneer at me. Its red outline glistened like fresh blood. I moved close to the window. I thought it might help to look outside. Along the center of the avenue stretched the Commonwealth Mall, a ribbon of parkland covered in snow. The bare trees were strung with white Christmas lights. At the end of the block, inside an iron fence, the bronze statue of Leif Eckerson stood on its pedestal, his hands cupped over his eyes. Leif gazed towards the Charles Gate overpass as if to say, "Look, I am discovering a highway." My mom and I used to joke about Leif. His armor was on the skimpy side, a short skirt and breastplate that looked like a Viking bra. I had no clue why the statue was in the middle of Boston, but I figured it couldn't be a coincidence that Uncle Randolph grew up studying Vikings. He lived here his whole life. He probably looked at Leaf every day out the window. Maybe as a child, Randolph had thought someday I want to study Vikings. Men who wear metal bras are cool. My eyes drifted to the base of the statue. Somebody was standing there, looking up at me. You know how when you see somebody out of contact and it takes you a second to recognize them? In Leif Erikson's shadow stood a tall, pale man in a black leather jacket, black motorcycle pants, and pointy red shoes. His short, spiky hair was so blond it was almost white. His only dash of color was a striped red and white scarf wrapped around his neck and spilling off his shoulders like a melted candy cane. If I didn't know him, I might have guessed he was cosplaying some anime character, but I didn't know him. It was hurt. My fellow homeless dude and surrogate mom. I was a little creeped out, a little offended. Had he seen me on the street and followed me? I didn't need some fairy god stalker looking after me. I spread my hands. "What are you doing here?" Heath made a gesture like he was plucking something from his cupped hand and throwing it away. After 2 years of hanging around him, I was getting pretty good at reading sign language. He was saying, "Get out." He didn't look alarmed, but it was hard to tell with hurt. He never showed much emotion. Whenever we hung out, he mostly just stared at me with those pale gray eyes like he was waiting for me to explode. I lost valuable seconds trying to figure out what he was meaning by why he was here when he was supposed to be in Copeland Square. He gestured again, both hands pointing forward with two fingers tipping up and down twice. "Hurry." "Why?" I said out loud. Behind me, a deep voice said, "Hello, Magnus." I nearly jumped out of my shoes. Standing in the library doorway was a barrel-chested man with a trim white beard and a skull cap of gray hair. He wore a birch cashmere overcoat over a dark wool suit. His gloved hands gripped the handle of a polished wooden cane with an iron tip. Last time I seen seen him, his hair had been black, but I knew his voice. "Randolph." He inclined his head a millimeter. "What a pleasure surprise. I'm glad you're here." He sounded either surprised nor glad. He sounded neither surprised nor glad. "We don't have much time." The food and milk started to turn in my stomach. Much time before what? His brow frowned. His nose wrinkled as if he detected a mildly unpleasant odor. "You're 16 today, aren't you? They'll be coming to kill you." Chapter 3. Don't accept rides from strange relatives. Well, happy birthday to me. Was it January 13th? Honestly, I had no idea. Time flies when you're sleeping under bridges and eating from dumpsters. So I was officially 16. For my present, I got cornered by Uncle Freaky, who announced that I was marked for assassin. Who? I started to act. You know what? Never mind. Nice seeing you, Randolph. I'll be going now. Randolph remained in the doorway, blocking my exit. He pointed the iron tip of his cane at me. I swear I could feel it pushing against my sternum from across the room. Magnus, we need to talk. I don't want them to get to you, not after what happened to your mother. A punch in the face would have been less painful. Memories from that night spawned through my head like a sickening cloud of spin. Our apartment building shuddering, a scream from the floor below, my mother, who'd been tense and paranoid all day, but dragging me towards the fire escape, telling me to run. The door splintered and burst. From the hallway, two bees emerged, their pelts the color of dirty snow, their eyes glowing blue. My fingers slipped off the fire escape railing, and I fell landing in a pile of garbage bags in the alleyway. Moments later, the windows of our apartment exploded, belching fire. My mom had told me to run. I did. She promised to find me. She never did. Later on in the news, I heard that her body had been recovered from the fire. The police were searching for me. They had questions, signs of arson, my records of disciplinary problems at school. Neighbors' reports of shouting and a loud crash from our apartment just before the explosion. The fact that I had run from the scene, none of the reporters mentioned wolves with glowing eyes. Ever since that night, I've been hiding, living under the radar, too busy surviving to grieve properly for my mom, wondering if I had hallucinated those bees, but I knew I hadn't. Now, after all this time, Uncle Randolph wanted to help me. I grabbed the little domino stone so tightly it cut into my palm. You don't know what happened to my mom. You never cared about either of us. Randolph lowered his cane. He leaned on it heavily and stared at the carpet. I could have almost believed I hurt his feelings. I plead with your mother, he said. I wanted her to bring you here to live where I could protect you. She refused after she died. He shook his head. Magnus, you have no idea how long I looked for you or how much danger you're in. I'm fine, I snapped, though my heart was thumping against my ribs. I've been taking care of myself pretty well. Perhaps, but those days are over. There's certainly in his Randolph's voice gave me a chill. You're 16 now, the age of manhood. You escaped them once the night your mother died. They won't let you escape again. This is our last chance. Let me help you, or you won't live through the day. The low winter light shifted across the stained glass, transformed, washing Randolph's face in changing colors, chameleon style. I shouldn't have come here. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Over and over, my mom had given me one clear message: don't go to Randolph. Yet, here I was. The longer I listened to him, the more terrified I got, and the more desperately I wanted to hear what he had to say. I don't need your help, I said. The strange little dominoes on the desk. I know about the wolves. That stopped me. I know what you saw, he continued. I know you saw the creatures, regardless of what the police think. I know you have how your mother really died. How? Magnus, there's so much I need to tell you about your parents, about your inheritance, about your father. An ice cold wire threaded its way down my spine. You knew my father. I didn't want to give Randolph any leverage. Living on the street had taught me how dangerous leverage could be. But he had
Excuse me,
me
ma'am.
hooked. I needed to hear this information. Judgment from the appeasing gloom in his eyes, he knew. Yes, Magnus, I knew your father's indemnity. Your mother's murder. The reason she refused my help is all connected. He gestured toward his display of Viking goodies. My whole life I've been working working toward one goal. I've been trying to solve a historical mystery. Until recently, I didn't see the whole picture, but now I do. It's all been leading to this day, your 16th birthday. I looked backed up to the window as far as I could from Uncle Randolph. Look, I don't understand 90% of what you're saying, but if you could tell me about my dad, the building rattled like a volley of peanuts had gone off in the distance. A rumble so low I felt in my teeth. They'll be here, Randolph said. We're running out of time. Who are they? Randolph leant forward, relying on his cane. His right knee didn't seem to work. I'm asking a lot, Magnus. You have no reason to trust me. But you need to come with me right now. I know where your birthright is. He pointed to the old maps on the desk. Together we can retrieve what is yours. It's the only thing that might protect you. I gleamed over my shoulder out the window down in the Commonwealth while Heath had disappeared. I should have done the same, looking at Uncle Randolph. I tried to see any resemblance to my mom, anything that might inspire me to trust him. I found nothing. His imposing bulk, his intense dark eyes, his humorless face and stiff man. He was the exact opposite of my mom. My car is out back, he said. Maybe we should wait for Annabeth and Uncle Frederick. Randolph grunts. They don't believe me. They never believe me. Out of this desperation, as a last resort, I brought them to Boston to help me look for you. But now that you're here, the building shook again. This time, the boom felt closer and stronger. I wanted to believe it was from construction nearby, or a military ceremony, or anything easily explanatory, but my gut told me otherwise. The noise sounded like the fall of a gigantum foot, like the noise that had shooken our apartment 2 years ago. Please, Magnus, Rudolph's voice quivered. I lost my own family to those monsters. I lost my wife, my daughters. You had a family. My mom never said anything. No, she wouldn't have. But your mother, Natalie, was my only sister. I loved her. I hated to lose her. I can't lose you too. Come with me. Your father left something for you to
I'm gonna
find,
go check on
something
that marker real
that
quick,
will
baby. I'll be
change
right
the
back.
world.
I'm
Too many,
sorry.
too many questions crowded my brain. I didn't like the crazy things in Rudolph's eyes. I didn't like the way he had said words, Pearl, and I didn't believe he'd been trying to find me since mom died. I had my antenna up constantly. It, if Randolph had been asking about me by name, one of my street friends would have tipped me off like Blitz had done this morning with Annabeth, and Frederick. Something had changed, something that made Randolph decide I was worth looking for. What if I just run? I asked. Will you try to stop me? If you run, they'll find you. They'll kill you. My throat felt like it was full of cannonballs. I didn't trust Randolph. Unfortunately, I believe he was in honest, earnest about people trying to kill me. His voice had a ring of truth. Well, then I said, let's go for a ride. That is it for chapters 2 and 3. We will be starting on chapter 4 another day. Chapter 4 title is Seriously, the Dude Cannot Drive. That is the end. Goodbye.